Greetings. I am Herbert Erpaderp, and somebody call an ambulance! But not for me.
This isn't the kind of ambulance you call, Herbert.
I guess not.
Also, you're not funny.
Anyway, as you can probably tell from the box, this is a 48th scale model of a British 2-ton 4x2 ambulance from Tamiya. This is a pretty recent tooling from 2023, I believe. So I don't feel like it would be outrageous to be expecting good things from this kit. Inside the box there are 2 sprues. They don't have a whole lot of parts on them, and that's not really a complaint, just an observation. High part count doesn't necessarily equate to good kit. The parts that are here are very nicely moulded, and the detailing is nice and crisp, and this is the kind of thing you would expect from a Tamiya kit, especially a newer one like this. The grille on the radiator part is particularly nicely done. Unfortunately, I don't think my pictures do it a lot of justice. The other sprue with the wheels and such is also really nice. There is going to be a little bit more cleanup needed for the rounded parts, like the drive shaft and whatnot, but still, you won't be working too hard to get all the bits ready for assembly. There is, as you can probably see, a crew figure, and in what is probably quite a surprise for most of you, I won't be using him. But he's there and he does look, well, he doesn't look happy, but he does look good, as do the clear parts. They are parts, and they're clear. I don't know what more you could want from this. Here's the decal sheet. Lots of red crosses here. The decal with the 2 holes in it is for the roof. The holes are for the air vents, and it looks like it might be a bit of a challenge to put on. I guess I'll find out if I ever paint this. As is often the case, there's a sheet with some information about the vehicle, and some instructions. Without these, we would just be guessing at how the model goes together, which might be funny, but it's probably not conducive to having a nice model at the end. The instructions are clear and easy to follow, as Tamiyas usually are. Okay, it's time to glue some bits of plastic together. Unlike a lot of Tamiya's 48th scale kits, this one doesn't include any weights, so obviously we don't need to worry about installing weights. The first thing is to add the exhaust and muffler part, and this pretty much drops right into place. The leaf spring suspension parts go on next. One end has a bit that goes into a recess on the frame, the other end has a guide nubbin. It should be pretty hard to put these on wrong. The forward leaf springs attach in a slightly different way, and there is a tiny bit more play to these, so you may have to pay a little bit more attention to how they're sitting, but it is still going to be fairly challenging to mess this up. The drivetrain, I guess you would call it, goes on next, with all of these components conveniently rolled into one part. This is very easy to get into place. It would be fitting, but I'm going to try and avoid saying that over and over again through the video. The front axle goes on next, and this is very easy to get into place. This has a steering rod or whatever you would call it moulded into it for convenience and ease of assembly. It looks like we're ready for wheels now, so why not put those together? The wheels are made up of 2 parts, and the front and rear are different to each other. The front wheels have a slot on the inside, while the rear has a round opening. The rear wheels also have a more chonky hub on the outside, so it's not hard to tell them apart. Next, I put the tops of the fuel tanks on. Obviously the filler pipe thing should be on the outside edge. You may need to apply some pressure here. Time to attach the wheels. As I said before, the front wheels have a slot, which interacts with the shape on the axle-y doodad, and this leaves very little play in the part. There is a bit more play in the rear wheel, but I wouldn't say it matters too much. It does mean you may need to do some nudging so everything's all lined up nice and straight, and that's the underframe done. Let's build the body. The first thing would be to add this clear part to the forward door in the ambulance compartment. I'm going to leave this off until painting, but this is where it should go. I then glue the spare tyre into place. I was kind of entertained by the fact that they had to make the door here with a curve cut out of it to clear the spare wheel. I'm very easily amused. That wall can then be glued onto the lower body part, I guess you might call it. This is shaped such that it should be pretty obvious when it's in the correct place. In front of it, I glue this box. The instructions do note that these parts go on in this particular order, and you probably wouldn't be able to do it in the reverse order. I put the cab floor in next, and it pretty much just plops onto the frame with no effort. I did add a bit of extra glue along the edges just to make sure that it was going to stay there. The sides of the body, healing area, ambulance compartment, whatever it is, these side parts take almost no effort to get into place. There isn't really any keying as I would think of it, but the parts are shaped such that you'll know if you're doing it wrong, probably. The forward part that's already in place does help quite a bit. The rear part goes on in pretty much the same way. It's obviously not difficult, though you may want to apply some pressure to make sure no unwanted gaps form. Next, mudguards. They've got a long tab which slots into the body. The part then rotates into the correct position. There's recesses on the inside of the body and everything. It's the same for the forward mudguard. I thought this was quite good. I wouldn't say it's a huge, groundbreaking leap forward in plastic kit technology or some such, but it is a good design. It makes it really easy to get the mudguards nice and straight, and they should have a good bit of strength to them. That's not the only good piece of design here. This little unassuming footstep, or stirrup or whatever you want to call it, is shaped such that there are tabs that fit into slots, but it looks as though it's sitting on the bottom of the cab floor part. Again, not super mind-blowing, but it is nice, and it should add quite a bit of strength. Now it's time to connect the frame and hull. This is not exactly difficult, though there aren't as many contact points for the glue as I would like. I do like to glue. Inside the cab area, I add this set of levers. This is keyed, so if you want to put it around the wrong way, it will resist. Then I add the seat, or butt palace if you prefer the technical term. Now it's time to build the bonnet, or hood if you're an American and don't know the proper words.
Oh, that's rich coming from you, Herbert.
There's some nice big guide tabs for attaching the side parts here, which I rather like. They make it almost impossible to put these on wrong. The front grille part goes on just as easily. This, conveniently, has the headlamps moulded into it. Also, the grille looks really good, and I'm really glad that it's not photo etch, cause in a lot of other kits it probably would be. I then take the front wall of the cab and attach what I'm pretty sure are rolled up canvas doors. There is keying for them, but I wasn't totally sure I got them on straight. They have a bit of a bend to them, which is probably intentional. In my eyes, they just kind of sat a bit weird, but it works, so I move on and glue the bonnet into place. You don't really have to, but you might want to apply some pressure anyway. Before installing that assembly, it's a good idea to add the dashboard and firewall part, and before installing that, you'll need the steering column. That can then be glued into place, helpfully guided by the keying. You might notice I used a lot of glue here, and that's because I really wanted to praise the glue god. Once that's together, I put the steering wheel on. There is a bit of play to it, so you might want to nudge it a bit till it looks right. If you're going to use a crew figure, you might want to think about adding that too. Believe it or not, I'm not.
You've already said that, Herbert.
Oh yeah. The front of the ambulance can go into place now, and it's almost perfect. I, of course, applied pressure, but there is still a tiny bit of a gap along the top of the dashboard part. The rest of it seems to go together with no problem, so I didn't worry about it too much. Oh, would you look at the clock? It's roof time. The patient compartment has a roof, and onto that you need to glue the front bit. I had to apply a bit of gap nullifying pressure, but it's simple enough. Then I add the little roof vents. I don't think there's going to be a problem trying to get that huge decal over these, or at least not a problem that wouldn't also occur with just the base part of the vents, but that's for future Herbert to worry about. There's a couple of doodads to add to the cab roof too. This disc, which I think is probably a placard for a red cross. Also, rear view mirrors. These hang down from the sides of the roof, which I thought was kind of interesting. Obviously, if you're leaving the roof separate for painting, like I am, you should probably be careful with these. I don't imagine it would take much to break them. This is what it looks like when the roofs are on the model. You do have to put the cab roof on before putting the patient compartment roof on, so while I don't intend to paint the patient area, it does mean having to leave both roofs off. You could, of course, glue them together, but it didn't really seem necessary at this point. Once I ended the build stream for this kit, I realised I'd left the front bumper off. What a blithering idiot. It's pretty simple to install though, so I did that. See? Obviously, I'm leaving the clear parts for the headlamps and windshields off until painting, just to make life easy, but that's pretty much it. The 48th scale British 2-ton 4x2 ambulance from Tamiya is now completed, and I feel like I might be stating the obvious by saying this, but it's a really nice model, but I said it anyway. It's not really surprising to get a good result from a Tamiya kit though, I suppose. There were quite a few features and design choices that I rather enjoyed with this kit. I probably don't need to point them all out again. I feel like they put a good amount of thought into how this kit would go together, and that's something I really like to see, and it really added to my enjoyment of the build. I'm sure there's somebody typing away saying that kits were better in the 50s when they would fight you all the way, and there is something to say about beating a good result out of a low quality kit. It's also satisfying when the kit is just good and goes together with no troubles, and this is a good example of that. So, it's a good, fun, relaxing build, and at the end, you get a really nice looking model. What's not to like? You will be shocked and surprised to learn that I don't know anything about this kind of vehicle, so I couldn't tell you if it's a super accurate model or not. Maybe there's a better, more highly detailed model that rivet counters are into, but I feel like most modelers would be satisfied with this kit. If I could give it more than 2 thumbs up, I would. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put them in the comments section below. If you'd like to watch me build kits like this one live, I stream modelling a couple of times a week both here on YouTube and over on Twitch. Twitch even has a schedule you can check out, link in the description. Subscribe if you want to see more, and if you really like what I do, consider supporting over on Patreon or Ko-fi if you're able. You can see the videos early without any ads. Links for that are in the description too. Take care of yourselves, be excellent to each other, and thanks for watching. Farewell.